overthought and overproduced, and I'm definitely guilty of that as well. You know, we're all human beings. We all overthink to a degree with certain things, but in wrestling especially, some things just can't be overthought. Sometimes you got to just do something and then see if it sticks, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, and this did, and I'm grateful for it.
It's true. Now, I mean, you came up with that organically, but when it comes to, like, coming up with a move set or finishers, like, where did you come to think about those kind of things?
You know, it's tough because a move set is something that I'm still really trying to figure out, because there are a lot of different styles of wrestling that I'd like to try to incorporate, and I'm still trying to figure out as a character what my character would do,
right,
as opposed to things that I would like to do. You know, we all have our things that you see in every match. You know, your backbreakers and your spine busters and your DDTs and your strikes, your chops, whatever it may be. But I really want to be more than just a wrestler that does a lot of variety of moves, because I can do all of them, but I really want to make sure that my character has a purpose to doing everything. And I'm not even just talking about in the moment. It's like, you know, if my character is someone that kind of looks down on the high-flying style of wrestling, you know, is he a narcissist that then does high-flying moves as in a spiteful way, almost akin to, like, if you watch an FTR match and once in a blue moon, you know, Dax Harwood will go to the top rope in kind of a mocking sense, you know, like that type of thing. Or do I do it in a more earnest manner, because at the end of the day, I'm supposed to be the son of wrestling. I'm supposed to be all-encompassing of everything. Maybe I try to do a little bit of everything. And it's been tough to navigate that, because, you know, eventually I do want to find something that sticks, so I can really work on perfecting it and work on how I do things in a certain order, how I have a certain type of match and a certain flavor. And you know, it's fun, but it's tough sometimes.
No, I can understand that. I mean, and obviously, as we see other wrestlers out there, like, you're going to change and obviously evolve hopefully, as a wrestler, to where you might have some of the same moves, but you don't feel like you're stuck being in those moves, and you are open to trying different moves, because
exactly
wrestling's developing so much. It's not the same that it was 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago, let alone 25 to 30 years ago. Like, it's a completely different animal that is always evolving. So, you know, the moves now, like, obviously the Canadian Destroyer, that was a move that people, like, I was trying to explain that to somebody one time, and I was like, okay, well, so it's a pile driver, but they do a flip, and the guy has to do a backflip, but now it's a transitional move. It's not even a finisher anymore.
Yeah, and, you know, as a wrestler, you know, it's always a bit tough, because you're trying to conceive of things that you know can be a significant move to end a match or be a near fall in a match, but at the same time making sure it's a move that three other people on the same show as you aren't going to do, and kind of take the you know, the knees out from under it. You know, if I want to do a DDT, I got to make sure that, you know, four other people in their matches aren't going to do DDTs, and that's just not really something I want to deal with. So, okay, DDTs, maybe I can do a DDT, but maybe that's not my finishing move. All right, maybe I'll try to come up with something uber complicated that no one's done before. How the hell am I going to do that? Everything's been done in wrestling. So it's very much a trial and error process.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what a lot of the fun of being in wrestling is a trial and error process of all of it, because you're doing a live performance in one take. You don't get another take. Like, yeah, you can maybe kind of do the same sequence again and with obviously a different ending, but you don't have another chance to do it, as opposed to, let's say you're an actor and you're doing a role, or you're doing a scene, and then after the scene, you're like, well, what if we went back and did this? And then you try it and you're like, oh, that works way better. You can't do that when you're a pro wrestler. Like, that's it. But the next night you think, okay, well, this sequence was great, but maybe at the end or at the beginning or somewhere in the middle, we can kind of tweak here, here, and here. So I think that's what's the fun part about pro wrestling as well.
It's fun, but at the same time, you do always worry about making that first impression, because if you go out there and you do something that maybe doesn't grasp people, you know, at the same time, you know, I'll have that feeling that, man, I've already kind of lost it, because I can go back to the same company a month later in front of the same people. Maybe they remember me, maybe they don't, but at the end of the day, I have to hope that now, if I do something better, that they're not going to be like, well, wait a second, why didn't you do the same thing he did last time? Whether they liked it or not, consistency still matters.
That's true.
You know, it's Speedball Mike Bailey. I have to give him a shout out. Mike, if you're listening to this, you've been wonderful for helping me to navigate issues like I've been just talking about the last couple of minutes, because Mike is someone that goes out there, and Mike always has his repertoire of sequences and moves that he does. You know, if you think of Speedball Mike Bailey, you think of the moonsaults, you know, to the outside. You think about the kicking combos and the flurries and everything else, and the spin kicks and the like. But he always finds a way to insert them in different ways, to where it always tells a different story, while always being the same flavor of stuff. And, you know, to be able to learn from a master at that sort of style has been very eye-opening to me. So I have to thank him for that.
Yes, and also, Mike, if you are listening, please come on the show. I would love to talk to you.
Absolutely, Mike, yes. It's a wonderful interview if you want to come on here sometime.
Exactly, see? Glowing recommendations already. We're not even done. Speaking of Mike Bailey, it's so I've been to the last, not counting 2020, obviously, the last 14 WrestleManias, and every year, obviously, the whole week and weekend is bigger and bigger than it was the year before, and there's more, you know, workers in town doing at least 5 to 6 matches alone, but we have every year there's at least 1 or 2 people that are like, the spotlight is on them, or they're even more of a breakout star than they were the weekend before. And Mike Bailey was that person last year and this year, not to say that Vikingo didn't do an amazing job this year too. So I think this year it was Vikingo and it was Mike Bailey, and they had a match together. And so I love watching the evolution and the breakout star possibilities of the WrestleMania weekend, because I'm always like, okay, who's the spotlight going to be on this weekend? And last year it was Mike Bailey. This year is Mike Bailey. Obviously Vikingo as well this year. And so I can't wait to see what his stock looks like next WrestleMania year and the year after that, because he is just on the rise. And from what I've heard in another interview, he just has such a level head about everything that it is super refreshing to watch. Yeah,
he's somebody that it's almost hard to describe, because when you talk to him, I really hope you are able to have him on here, because being able to talk to him one-on-one and really getting to just like, he doesn't even have to say it to you directly, but if you can just like see through the way he talks about things, not to say he's nonchalant about it, but it all clearly just flows through his brain so easily. You know, not to say that he doesn't have things that he thinks about or things that he struggles with, but he's clearly someone that just has been in this game so long that he just knows the right way to process things from a mental standpoint, to where he doesn't get overwhelmed, he doesn't overthink things. You know, he's someone that is always very gracious about receiving feedback, if there's any to give. You know, I don't think anybody's a perfect worker in any sense, but just from the standpoint of being able to absorb and process information and being able to take that and put it back out there, you know, 5-10-fold. You know, Mike Bailey's your guy, and I think that really speaks to how he's been able to capitalize on every little bit of momentum he's ever had. You know, is there ever a single moment where people might think to themselves, man, Mike Bailey's kind of lost a step, or Mike Bailey's kind of faltering here? And I don't think that's happened to him in the last couple of years since he's really had, I don't want to say it's a career resurgence, but ever since he's really been elevated to that next gear that he's been on the last couple of years with the, you know, now doing great work with Impact Wrestling and, you know, going out and being the showcase star of these WrestleMania weekends where, you know, he's not just going there and facing the top talent of the world, he's facing the top talent of the world and being the consistency, being the guy that, you know, is linking all of these moving parts together. You know, nobody's talking about, I mean, I'm sure to a degree there are. I don't want to not give anyone else their flowers. But people aren't talking about Mike Bailey's match with Hiroshi Tanahashi. They're talking about Tanahashi's match with Mike Bailey, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And we're about to see him in the Best of Super Juniors as well, which, you know, he's in the A block, and that A block is stacked full of, like, absolute ridiculousness of talent. And he gets to now put his stamp on Japan as of, like, okay, Japan, this is who Mike Bailey is.
I think, and it's funny because, you know, people talk about, you know, I think he's just going to go and he's going to have the time of his life. I really think he's going to go out there and he's going to have full 110% confidence in everything that he's going to do. And I think he's the kind of guy that only sets himself up for success. He's going to bat, you know, okay, I'm not a baseball guy. I can't make an analogy about batting or anything. I don't know how the expression works. But he's going to go out there and he's going to nail it, you know, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100 every single time because he's Speedball Mike Bailey, and Speedball Mike Bailey does nothing else but that.
Yeah. You are not wrong. It's
no pressure.
batting 1,000. Now, your career is relatively young when it comes to being a pro wrestler, but what are some of your highlights that you've already had in your career?
Well, actually, a major highlight is actually coming up this Sunday. I'm going to be traveling down to wrestle in Florida for the first time for, sorry, I have to get the actual name of the company right. I want to make sure I give them a proper plug here because they go by an acronym and they also go by, you know, I'm going to read out their full name if that's not a problem.
Oh, go right for it.
Right, okay, so BRCW, Boca Raton Championship Wrestling down in Boca. Yes, they're going to be having their next event this Sunday night called Challenge Accepted. And I have, in fact, accepted the challenge to be in a 25-man battle royal to crown their inaugural cruiserweight champion.
That's huge.
Yes. And, you know, we have a lot of names in this battle royal. We have a, you know, we have a slew of who's who's. We have, Kerry Morton, a very up-and-coming rising star in the NWA. We have Josh Woods, you know, of Ring of Honor and AEW fame. You know, among just a slew of others. And, man, am I excited to get in there with these, you know, these names in the industry that I haven't had the chance to be in there with yet on a working basis, and just be able to grapple with them a little bit is going to be such a highlight for me as someone who's only a year and a half in. And I don't want to say that this kind of stuff was coming, but, you know, people that always told me, like, man, it takes a few years to get your feet under you. Hey, man, I'm 26 years old, and I'm looking to get in quick and get in heavy, and this is the heaviest task I'm going to have so far. And, you know, if you want to talk about Florida, you know, the Sunshine State, you know, I think it's going to be a bright and shiny day for me to win my first gold in professional wrestling. Only a year and a half in, all this competition, it doesn't matter to me, man, because the sun always rises to the occasion, and that's going to happen this Sunday in Boca.
I love that, and print that on a shirt because you're going to make $1 million.
I hope so.
Well, I have a segment on the show. I call it the 5 count. I just have 5 random questions. Just answer as quick as possible.
Let's do it.
All right.